Welcome back to another fun section on the brain. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Do you know where your anatomy lectures are? We need to talk about the brainstem. As soon as you hear the term brainstem, I want you to think basic life functions. The brainstem was the first evolutionary step in the formation of the brain after the spinal cord had evolved. There will be three parts that we'll go over: the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. As with the other parts of the brain, the functionality of these areas is far more complex than what we cover. And I encourage you to go forth and study neuroanatomy, which is an endlessly fascinating topic. So the midbrain is going to be located between the diencephalon and the pons. You'll remember that the diencephalon is formed of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the pineal gland, among other structures that we did not discuss. It will have these four dome-like structures, which are known as the corpora quadrigemina. They are these protrusions that are along the posterior surface of the midbrain, and they are gray matter that are located within white matter. The midbrain is going to be associated with reflex actions around visual and auditory input. It is also going to contain areas associated with the reticular formation. We're going to be talking about the reticular activating system in the next section. Reticular activating system has a lot of functionality, including dealing with sleep-wake cycles and whether or not you're conscious or unconscious. It is the most complex part of the brainstem, and there's a lot of integrative functions that go on in it. It can direct very complex motor patterns, and these will occur at the subconscious level. It is actually going to influence the level of the activity of your entire nervous system, not only the brain and the spinal cord, but the peripheral nervous system too, because that information has to travel in and out of the brain. Most of it is going to travel in and out of the brain for processing. As we know, it's going to regulate auditory and visual reflexes. It's going to help control alertness, which is a major function of the reticular activating system. It does relay subconscious motor commands, and those will be for the upper and lower extremity in terms of where they are positioned, as well as muscle tone. We already have that down. In addition, it's going to control the reflex of movements of your eyes, your head, your neck, and these will be in response to visual input. The pons is going to link the cerebellum with the midbrain, with the diencephalon, with the cerebrum, with the medulla oblongata, and the spinal cord. There are four groups of structures that are going to be associated with the pons: ascending tracts, descending tracts, transverse tracts, as well as a number of different nuclei. These nuclei will control respiration. There will be sensory and motor nuclei of cranial nerves that are associated with the pons. And then last but not least, nuclei and tracts that are going to process and relay information that are sent in and out of the cerebellum. The name pons means bridge or pathway, and we name it that because of the fact that it is a link for the conduction of tracts. It's going to connect the cerebellum and the brainstem. It will also importantly be the location of what is known as the pneumotaxic area of the respiratory center, and the pneumotaxic area is going to be involved in regulating your rate of breathing. It will also contain areas associated with the infamous reticular formation. Stay tuned on that. The medulla oblongata was the very first part of the brainstem to develop after the formation of the spinal cord as we evolved. It is going to be enormously important in terms of your basic life functions. So it's going to hold autonomic centers for a number of vital functions, including respiratory activity, as well as controlling the rate and depth of your heartbeat. It is going to contain relay stations along both sensory and motor pathways. And there will be nuclei that are seated there that are going to be associated with 5 different cranial nerves, 5 pairs of cranial nerves. Let me be specific on that. I think I'll tweak this PowerPoint and add pairs. All communication between the brain and the spinal cord has to travel through the medulla oblongata, whether it is ascending or descending information. Ascending is sensory, descending is motor. We'll also coordinate a bunch of complex autonomic reflexes as well as visceral functions. Think cardiovascular and respiratory. We know it's going to relay sensory information. We know it's also going to relay motor information. There's going to be a cardiac center that's going to adjust the force and rate of your heartbeat. There is a vasomotor center that is going to regulate blood pressure because it's going to act on smooth muscle in the walls of your arterioles in the periphery. The respiratory center will control both the rhythm and the depth of breathing. And there will be a bunch of different additional centers that are going to control a number of involuntary activities. So vomiting, hiccuping, swallowing, coughing, sneezing. Do you remember the area postrema? The area postrema, what is it again? Check that out, is going to be located in the medulla. And there you have it.